Good morning. Sorry I couldn't be with you this morning. I wish I was there to do this in person, but we're just going to have to go through this, and we're going to kind of walk you through each of the problems that we're going to have as sample types for our system of linear equations. Now, each of the 6 problems we're going to be doing this morning has a different component and a different style of problem that we're going to demonstrate. The first problem we're going to work with deals with quantity, and I want to kind of introduce you to this. So as we look through this, we see that Tim bought 10 pens and 4 erasers for $7.50. That's going to be our first equation. So Jalan, as we look at this next one, we have Mandy buying 20 pens and 10 erasers for $15.50. Now it's probably obvious that we have 2 scenarios going on. The first scenario is our first equation, and the second sentence is our second equation. So the first thing we're going to need to do is set up some variables that make sense. Now, as we're going through these examples today, I'm going to need you to kind of respond to Miss Tom as I ask you questions. And so hopefully you can respond before I actually give the answer on screen. Otherwise it could get awkward, Brett, if I talk to you and you don't say anything back or at least look up. So, here we go. Our first question has to deal with what is the question given. So, I'm going to underline it. How much does a pen cost? That's our first question. So I'm going to pick a variable about pen. All of your variables, it's very critical to pick them that relate to the problem. So we're going to say let P equal the cost of the pen. Now this is one of the new things that we're doing today is we're defining variables. The second idea is going to be how much does an eraser cost. So we're going to define that variable. What variable should we pick for eraser? All right, Katie? France, what variable should we pick? Hopefully you said E. E is going to be the variable for the cost of the eraser. So put those 2 factors down as we define our variables to start with. Now that we've defined our variables, we're going to need to write an equation for each of the 2 sentences. So our first equation is about Tim. What did he do? He bought 10 pens. That's 10p, and he bought 4 erasers, that's 4e, and that total cost was $7.50. Don't forget the decimal for the 50 cents. Now, based on that equation, I'd like you to think about what would be the equation for the second one. Take about 20 seconds and try to look at the second sentence and try to determine what the equation will be. In about 20 seconds, we're going to come back to it, and we're going to try to write it out. Sydney and Luke, it'll be your job to come up with an equation for this second one. 20 pens, 10 erasers, $15.50. All right, so Sydney, what's going to be the equation? Hopefully at this point, you are saying what I'm writing. 20p plus 10e equals 1550. These are our 2 equations that we're going to go and we're going to work with to solve this problem. Now, everything else we do today is review after this problem. We're going to have to examine our problem. We're going to ask ourselves which method is going to be the easiest to use to solve this. Well, because it's in standard form, we're going to have to use the elimination method. So I'm going to multiply this first equation by a -2. So put a -2 out to the side and multiply all of the first equation by -2. -20p, -8e, and don't forget to also multiply the 750 by -2 and get -15. Alright, our second equation doesn't change at all, so we just rewrite that right below. Now, we look at our 2 equations and we say our p's are going to drop out. So we add these vertically and get 2e equals 50 cents. To solve, we divide by 2, and e equals 25 cents. We now have the first value. Now we need to find out the second value. So I'm going to use the first equation, 10p plus 4e equals 750. I put in my value of E, which is 25 cents, If you don't have your calculators out, you'll need to get them out at this point because we're going to use calculators a lot today. That's 10p plus 1 equals 750. Solving from there, what's our next step, Mr. Sesnoff? Hopefully we said we subtract 1. So 10p equals 650. Divide both sides by 10. Kyle, what's the value of our pen? P equals 65 cents. Alright, so we have our two values. E equals 25 cents, P equals 65 cents. We still need to check, so I'm going to use equation 2 to check it with. 20 times P, 0.65, plus 10 times E, which is 25 cents, is supposed to be equal to $15.50. 20 times 0.65, that equals 13. 10 times 25 cents is $2.50, and that does indeed equal $15.50. Now, as we have finished the problem, we need to now answer the question. Our question from the top says, how much does a pen cost and how much does an eraser cost? So I want you on your problems tonight to answer the question using a sentence. Our answer: a pen costs 65 cents and an eraser costs 25 cents. And there's our answer. This finishes up problem number 1.